Alex Thompson's reporting on Joe Biden is continuing to blossom into 1,000 beautiful flowers. So let's go ahead and get to the latest edition of the autopen story. So Thompson is out with another story in Axios today, this time. And Michael, I'm curious what you make of this, because it's easy to see the autopen story as like a red meat, silly, like conspiracy theory that just, crazy MAGA people are clinging to in the middle of Epstein whatnot to sort of like they have that Biden era nostalgia. But actually, it's very interesting because the latest edition of Alex Thompson's reporting on this, and we can put the element up on the screen whenever we get a chance, is basically that Joe Biden's autopen, the authorization for his autopen pardon of several Biden family members, according to this new scoop from Alex Thompson, came from Jeff Zients in an email. So not even from Biden, and actually not even technically from Jeff Zients, but from an aide to Jeff Zients. And so this Thompson story was full of sort of morsels, but that to me stuck out. And I've seen basically nothing about it in the media today other than Alex's story.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's so many crazy things about this. Is that you're right? It was like 3 people down, and then there was somebody at the Justice Department who was like, "Wait, are we sure that he's okay with this?" That was my favorite, like, big kicker at the end. Is that someone was like, "This just seems really weird." So let's like double check with the guy who passed away 3 years ago. There's like a million terrible things about this story, and I get it that people think it's, kind of MAGA red herring stuff, and there's been a bit of that. I admit there's been a bit of that people have just kind of been banging on about this story, but it's still a good story. It's still stuff that keeps coming out. And I want to praise my old friend. I said that I worked on the Vice show. I worked on that show with Alex Thompson, by the way, who is like a very young reporter, and he is a great reporter, and he doesn't care the fact that everyone ended up hating him, and he got so much crap for all this stuff. But the story is interesting for a number of reasons. One of the ones is that it reminded me that Joe Biden pardoned his son and everyone in his family. Oh,
I thought you were going to say was alive. It reminded me that Joe Biden is a sentient living being.
No, he is not that. We are pretty sure that he's not that. But and there was another detail in there that I had forgotten about too, is just kind of the recklessness of the pardons. Because, I mean, recalling that he very proudly said, with the help of the autopen, that he pardoned more people in American history as a president, one of whom was a guy who killed an 8-year-old boy and his mother because they threatened to expose his drug ring in Bridgeport, Connecticut. It's like that kind of stuff. Imagine, I hate to be the person that says, imagine if Donald Trump did this, but, I mean, some of his pardons I'm not a big fan of either, so I can play both sides of that. But it's pretty astonishing that you have a guy who's doing the autopen, not, by the way, because it's too much. I mean, I remember Terry McAuliffe, who was doing the same thing when he was governor of Virginia, said, it's just too many people. I got to get through it really fast. The autopen takes care of that. That was not what was happening here. It was like the people at the Justice Department, 2 of whom quoted in that story, by the way, have left because of Donald Trump. And they, one of them was sidelined and ended up resigning. So these are people that are not like, conservatives that are in there making trouble for the Biden administration, but contemporaneous to it, they were saying, like, is this okay? I mean, we're not so sure that this is okay. And did he approve of this stuff? So looking back on it, it's astonishing that this stuff is kind of trickling out still. And you have to wonder the motivation of people within Biden universe who are giving us this information now.
Yes.
They're still doing it. That's the crazy thing. It's like, oh, this is MAGA trying to distract from Donald Trump. Perhaps, maybe that is true. But there's also people within Biden world who are dribbling these stories out a year plus later.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, it's one of those things where the media kind of glossed over it. It was sort of like half and half. I'm curious what you make of this, actually, because it was like half of the media coverage at the time was like, wow, this is unprecedented. And then the other half of it was just like, okay, we're moving on. Yeah. Or it wasn't treated as like a gravely serious offense, though it was sort of noted that it was unprecedented. That's kind of my impression of how the media treated the story. And yet, in a way, just this is a Trumpian weave. It reminds me almost of Russiagate, because it's something that happens. It is an infraction committed by kind of establishment Democrats. It happens. Media's like, okay, let's move on, frames it as kind of a minor infraction, a non-issue. And then Trump escalates based on the precedent that was shattered or set by Biden. Yeah. And then it's sort of like yelling at the ref for flagging the other guy. It's not that Trump isn't doing something wrong. It's just that the other guy never got a flag. So he's punching him back really hard. I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you're not wrong. It's sort of the same thing with like the cascading abuse of executive power that started growing under George W. Bush, and then Obama like doubled it, and everyone's like tripled it and quadrupled it since. Yeah, you kind of have to expect that that's going to happen if you normalize it. But the thing that it kind of keeps these stories going and keeps people like me angry about this stuff is the fact that no one does care when Joe Biden was willy-nilly, granting pardons to people like Leonard Peltier, who was like the college hero. Like amongst the people on the left when I was in college, were like, "Oh, free Leonard Peltier." I took 2 minutes and looked into it, and I was like, "Oh, that dude's guilty." Like he's like really guilty. Like holy shit, he's
like guilty. Angela Davis.
Yeah, it's like Mumia Abu Jamal. I make a joke on the Fifth Column, and people give me a hard time because I made a joke about it. Now they're like, "Where is the book that I was going to produce a book called Guilty," which is every person.
No, you can't do that. Coulter already took that. Guilty liberal victims and their assault on America. That's the book.
This is different than Anne's book because mine is the idea that everybody who you've ever been told was railroaded was absolutely guilty. From Hurricane Carter, who was in the Bob Dylan song, and the movie with what's his name, who played Hurricane Carter? What's his name? Denzel Washington. Like, they're all guilty. Like, if you look at it, it's all guilty. But Leonard Peltier was one of these guys, and that gave him a lot of slow claps from people on, like, the progressive left. You know, the idea that you get from this stuff is it's a bunch of people who went to jail because they sold a bag of weed. And that stuff just doesn't really exist anymore. And so who are these thousands of people? Look, I guarantee you that some of them, I would say, absolutely should be pardoned. And I am like outraged by some of the stuff that Trump did, because I used to criticize all the time, to maybe no friends amongst people who were not of my same political persuasion, but I criticized constantly the Enrique Torrio. 22 years. He wasn't even in DC. Like,
Proud
so
Boy leader.
A lot of, the black white supremacist leader of the Proud Boys. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that I criticized, but the blanket pardons on the other side with Trump and the January 6th stuff. I mean, one guy was just resentenced to life in prison for trying to kill FBI agents. So there's a lot of bad guys in there too, and you can't do it in both ways. But the outrage, which I was a part of, and I was like, you can't do that blanket pardon. I didn't hear that previously. And you got to just, like, it's kind of frustrating. It's like, if you guys have some sort of principle here, you should hold up that principle. And I try to be as kind of principled on this stuff as I can, but it's not to make myself sound like I'm a hero, but it's a kind of a lonely battle when it comes to the Biden people about those pardons, which beyond the auto pen, I think is not great stuff. Not great stuff. Because it's the family too. It's like his brother, his sister, like preemptive pardons are bad, full stop.
If you are like me, you are definitely looking to support more made in the USA manufacturing this year, which is why I'm excited to talk to you about a warehouse. Whether it's home decor, clothing, or furniture, it's become extremely difficult to find high-quality products that aren't made overseas. A recent Forbes report revealed that annual earnings for small businesses across the U.S. have dropped by over 75% since 2023. Small businesses in this country are struggling to stay afloat. With the likes of Amazon and Target dominating the market, it's no wonder. That's where a warehouse comes in, your one-stop shop for artisanal home goods made exclusively by small businesses. With hundreds of products to choose from, they're deeply committed to supporting American manufacturers. Their easy-to-navigate online marketplace lets you browse a wide range of independent makers, and you can feel good knowing that your purchase supports real people and small family-run businesses. A warehouse believes that true luxury isn't about fancy labels or big brand names. It's about the dedication, creativity, and care that goes into every product, and I could not agree more. Help a warehouse hit their goal of supporting over 100 small businesses this year. Head to awarehouseshop.com and use code PARTY for 15% off your first order. That's awarehouseshop.com, code PARTY.